All right, let's dive into Second Thessalonians 2. We're going to be looking at all of the present tenses, and this is a passage which is usually used to predict a future Antichrist to come on the world scene. However, because of the clear grammar in the Greek, it works in the opposite direction. So I'm just going to read a little bit. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalteth himself up above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So, first of all, think about what the temple of God is. Where has Paul defined what the temple of God is? So, if you can answer that, then that's a first hint of what the Antichrist is and where the Antichrist does what he does. Here, now, I also need to point out that this passage actually does not use the term Antichrist. So that is something to bear in mind as well. It's importing something said by John elsewhere and trying to force it onto this passage. But the reason why people call it the Antichrist is because he exalted himself above all that is called God. So conceptually, it's an appropriate term, but it's not necessarily a fixed idea in the way that people try to present it. Now, going to look at the present tenses in verse 4. We're looking at the Greek now, and anti-kaphomenos, the one being set against. See how it shows a PRES there? That means that's present tense. And then below that, and being lifted above, PRES, see that? Unto all, PRES, now being called God. With three present tenses, it's like saying the one now being set against and now being lifted above, which means that there's no way to import that into the far distant future to be talking about a future individual. Then it goes on to say more, and just keep in mind that the translation that's above the Greek, that's not an actual translation. That's a reference from one of the translations. So it's just for our reference. It's not the actual meaning. And so now look here, verse 7, 2 Thessalonians 2:7. For the mystery already, it works internally, energetai. So notice present tense. And then it goes on to talk about the um, the presence from Perusia, which people translate as coming, but it's more properly presence because presence happens after someone has arrived. So here we see, and then shall that wicked one be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him, and then they add that in the brackets there. See that? Even him, whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. This appears to me to be an egregious mistranslation, because look here. It says the coming of him in verse 8, and that's clearly talking about the Lord. And those are in the genitive case, the coming of him, of which. So that's genitive case as well. See? GEN, of which it is present tense. See that? The coming. So to make that about the Antichrist figure just doesn't make any sense. Because look, he will render idle to the blazing of the coming of him. So we're talking about the Lord, of which, still talking about the Lord, it is present tense, the coming, down on internal activeness of the Satan. So both references using the word coming are in reference to the Lord and what happens in the present tense. See, it is P-R-E-S, estin. It is, meaning in Paul's day, when he was writing this to the Thessalonians, in their minds, the coming is right now. The presence is now. And that presence, when it arrives now, it comes down on the internal activeness of the Satan. So, see how getting more proper Greek analysis causes false ideas to fall in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye? And that's why I want to share this, because people build in full towers of a lot of different notions that they believe are foregone conclusions. But once we get into the original text, a lot of these conclusions just instantly disappear and are shown to be illusions. All right, I'm going to leave you with that.